Well, howdy. Howdy. Welcome to the last day of short course for 2017. Thank you for coming out this morning and joining us. I think we're going to have some great discussion the entire morning, but I'm excited to be a part of this distinguished panel and talk about the We Build Texas program. And if you haven't heard about it, I think you're going to start hearing a lot more about the We Build Texas program, if I can say that right. And it started with the Associated General Contractors of Texas and having one of our many meetings and discussions that we have with AGC and the contracting industry, and the focus of the discussion and how this all came about was talking about what you heard Chairman Buggs say yesterday, that we got a $70 billion transportation program over the next 10 years. That is absolutely huge. And we have the governor of Texas that is steadily behind transportation and wanting to do more and wanting to do some very big things in Texas in the coming years. So, we were talking about that with our AGC partners, and we were focusing on how are we going to do this? How are we going to execute and deliver a program that large? It, in essence, doubles the size of the transportation program in the state of Texas. How are we going to do that? That's not going to be easy to accomplish. So we were having some brainstorming ideas, and one of the ideas that came out of that is we need to really put a team together that really focuses on this initiative as a part of AGC and TxDOT working together. So we did. We started a work group led by these two gentlemen up here. Mark led from the TxDOT side of things, and Brad led from the AGC side of things. And we started this discussion, was it a year ago? About a year ago? Last fall. Sometime we started having these planning discussions and brainstorming meetings and trying to put this program together about how are we going to pull the industry together to accomplish a $70 billion program. And so that was really the genesis and the impetus behind creating We Build Texas. And I think it's very exciting. What we're doing now is asking districts, TxDOT districts, as well as the contractors that work in those regions of the state, to get together and have a workshop for a day or half a day and talk about what makes a successful project. How do you define a successful project? And just asking that one simple question just opens all kinds of discussion opportunities between TxDOT and our AGC partners on how can we make all that success more repeatable. We all know what we do is difficult. It's hard. It's engineering. It's never perfect. There's no perfect set of plans. There's no perfect construction project, but we're engineers, and what engineers do is we solve problems. So you got to work together. TxDOT and AGC have got to work together in order to create more repeatable, successful projects. So we're trying to put that recipe together on what makes a successful project. And it runs the full gamut. And for example, I don't know how many of y'all attended the Texas Asphalt Paving Association annual meeting here last month. And there was a panel discussion, and happened to be with a hot mix contractor and so you would think, simple overlay type projects, which, aren't the biggest projects that we do, but they're some of the most important projects we do. And this hot mix contractor got up there and they said that they actually plan for a successful hot mix project. And I'm thinking, wow, you plan for a successful hot mix project. How do you go about doing that? And they actually have meetings, pre-meetings in advance of how they're going to define success on that asphalt project, that overlay project. And this is a contractor that wins lots of TxAPA awards. And his point was, you plan for it. You go through the motions. You rehearse it in your mind. You understand what everybody else is doing on your team. You understand where all your equipment is going to be. You understand how the equipment's going to get into the work site, how they're going to unload their material, and how the trucks are going to get out of the work site. And you want that to be seamless. You want that to be done very professionally, and you want it to be done very safely. And if you do all those things together and you do that right with a focus on a successful project from the very beginning, before you even set foot on the project, then you just increase your odds of accomplishing the goal. And then when you're done with the project, you do a debrief. And you talk about what went right and what we need to work on, what they need to work on to improve. And some of those concepts, some of those philosophies fit directly in the We Build Texas program, because I believe to create more repeatable, successful projects, it actually starts in the preliminary engineering phase of our projects. You got to do good preliminary engineering. You got to lay out your project right. You got to have good schematics. You got to have good environmental documents. And all that leads into doing great PS&E work, having a quality set of plans. And if we do that, and we partner with the contractors, we, I believe, can create a lot more successful projects in the state of Texas by doing it. And part of what these gentlemen are going to talk about, I'm not going to get into a lot of details, but we really want our TxDOT districts to increase the amount of communication and collaboration that goes on with our contracting partners during the PS&E process. Let's not wait until we have final PS&E and we're done and we've got a bow on it and we're all proud of the work that we've done before we reach out to our contracting community and ask them to come in and take a look at our plans and tell us how we can improve. Let's do that during the PS&E process. Let's do that at the 60% complete stage. They understand it's not final, but they can come in and they can look at our construction phasing, they can look at our typical sections, they can look at our pavement designs, they can look at, if you should have a preliminary construction schedule. They can take a look at that schedule and they can help us finish the project with an increased focus on safety. And they're willing to do that. And we need to give them the opportunity to do that. Why would we turn down free resources to come in and take a look at our plans to help us increase the quality of our work? Especially when you look at TxDOT right now in the number of vacancies that we have in this agency, as well as some of the inexperience that we have with all the new hiring that we're doing. So we have a resource available to us there. I encourage all 25 of our districts to invite the contracting community to come in and take a look at our plans and have those types of discussions to increase the quality of the PS&E that we are producing. And then that helps us move that much closer to having a successful construction phase of the project. But that type of communication and collaboration needs to continue throughout that construction phase as well, because at the end of the day, we need contractors to be successful. We want contractors to be profitable. Having bankrupt contractors isn't going to help us accomplish the $70 billion goal. That ain't going to get us there. So we got to have successful contractors, and we can work together to accomplish that. And I'm a pause right there, gentlemen, if that's all right with y'all.
Perfect.
That was my job, just to kind of introduce this and tee it up, and then they're going to hit the home runs. So I'm going to turn it over to Brad and Mark, and y'all can go through your presentation. We do want to have some discussion here. We have plenty of time this morning because this is so important. This is one of the biggest things we have going on in the state of Texas right now in the transportation industry. We have got to get this right. The expectation is extremely high. And I can't say enough about Brad and Mark and the job they've done and the support that we're getting from AGC to help us get this right. So thank you very much. We're going to turn it over to Brad and Mark.
Thank you, Randy. I'll try to tee it up. Mark and I are going to tag team here. And I kind of remember the start of this being a little different. Randy got up in front of the AGC and gave us some statistics, he was getting quizzed by elected officials and commission on a little more of the detail. Currently, we have 300, or there's 1,600 contracts, and 320 of them were shown to be in liquidated damages. So, Randy, I know you're an Aggie, but that's 1 in 5. So, are you staying with me, or am I going too fast?
I want to point out you're an Aggie too.
Aggie light, they say. So, shocking statistics, and if we can convince anybody that those projects are successful being in liquidated damages, it's not going to happen. And so we have to do a better job at the message that we communicate, and Randy hit the nail on the head. It starts very early. So we're going to work through the stuff that we have, but remember, the voters, more than 80% of the voters told us in our industry that this was important. Mobility and infrastructure was extremely important. And so those kind of things dominoed, and I can tell you it has been my pleasure to be part of this group. As we started meeting with a small group, the enthusiasm and the recognition of we have a chance for our next generation to be able to make their living and do great things for the state of Texas. So it's just been remarkable to work with all these people, and so I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And he touched on something right there, enthusiasm, and we all saw it in the committee. And then going out to the districts and talking to folks, we saw a lot of enthusiasm. I think we all recognize that overall we do a pretty good job statewide, but we do have a few projects that are in LDs and a few projects that, maybe we could do something different to make them successful and learn from those mistakes and learn from best practices. And that's what this program's all about. So we'll go on to the next slide here and talk a little bit about the We Build Texas program and how it ties into safety, quality, on time, and together. So if you think about it, across the state of Texas, I've always heard that Texas highways are the best, and we're all proud of that. We've heard that all of our lives, and I think it's real important that we continue that on into the next generations of engineers and transportation engineers across the state and contractors, and I think it's real important. I think we together in this audience, like Randy was saying, we can come together and we can build Texas safely and build Texas with quality roads and build Texas on time. And I think we owe that to the taxpayers and to the legislature, especially now, like Randy said, with that $70 billion program, that UTP that we're looking at for the next 10 years. I think it's extremely important that we together really tackle this. I mean, if you think about it, we, as far as TxDOT, I'm here for the TxDOT perspective, and Brad's here for the contractor perspective. And if you think about it, our agency has done a really phenomenal job revamping our planning and programming side of the business. We have that MPPM, the modernization of our portfolio and project planning, and it's gonna replace all of our old legacy systems, and so we're moving forward in a positive ways in the state agency with respect to planning and programming. And on the construction side, when this committee first got together, we were like, well, what are we doing on the construction side? We haven't really done anything. And so this program, the We Build Texas program, it's not new specifications or new rewrites, or it's not a new spec book, and it's not changing up our partnering program. It's sharing information with everybody here I mean, it's sharing information. We got a lot of new folks out in area offices and new project managers out on construction projects, and they may not remember what construction tips are. They may not remember what showing projects are, and or never heard of it. And so if we can put together a document that anybody can go to and learn positive ways of successfully completing projects, I think this is a good thing. So.
Absolutely. So, touch a couple things. The state of Texas has been thrown a couple challenges that probably nobody could or did foresee, and that's energy sector, finding resources in areas that were not known at the time. And so all the oil and gas drilling that's going on has really taken some tolls on some of our facilities. The population increase in some of these metropolitan areas is just tremendous. And so to try to keep up or catch up with some of these challenges is a difficult thing to do. So our group recognized that these projects are team sports, and in order to be successful, we have to communicate, we have to talk, and we all have to be pulling in the same direction if we really want to make it happen. And so communications early and often, Randy touched on that, is extremely critical, and learning from, not recreating the wheel over and over and over again.
So let's take a look at the committee here. It's a large committee. It's made up of about 9 leaders across the state, and TxDOT leaders, and 9 contractor leaders and the AGC. And when I first saw this committee, I thought, oh, good Lord, this is too many folks in a committee. We're not going to be able to agree on anything, and we're not going to be able to, move ahead in a positive way here. But in reality, we had a lot of good input, and it wasn't too many. And we have a lot of contractors and TxDOT folks that have been around for many years and quite knowledgeable on all the successes and past successes that we've had as TxDOT and industry. And I think this was kind of a key to the success of this committee in getting this program developed. And I don't know if you have anything else to add about the committee. I mean,
in our initial discussions, we tried to use examples of what has worked, and the thing that really stuck out is the effort on safety and vehicle incidents. And especially, I don't even know if you parked in one of the parking lots out there and you didn't recognize TxDOT vehicles doing something differently, or private vehicles doing something differently. They're backed into parking spaces so you can pull out. There's red flags or cones sitting out there, and that doesn't come by accident. That comes by from the top. It's important to us that we don't get people injured and don't get vehicles tore up, and that message is communicated daily. So we kind of started with that in mind, saying if we're going to be successful and if we want this, we've got to have it from the top down, and we got to talk about it often. So.
That is correct. And like Randy said, one of the first things we did was we said, well, what is the definition of a successful project? And we had a lot of lengthy discussions on that. And then we went out to all the 25 districts, to the AGC TxDOT quarterly meetings, and continued those discussions. And we came back, and we believe that these are the bullets that really make up what a successful project is here in Texas. And if you think about it, safety is at the top there, like Brad mentioned. It's near and dear to all of us. Both sides, AGs or contractors and TxDOT, we've lost employees over the years. And it's extremely important that it be number one on our list, and it is. And everybody was in agreement. I mean, that was the very first thing that came up was safety. If we can walk away from a project and didn't lose any employees or didn't hurt any employees, or the traveling public was able to get through the project, then we had a successful project as far as safety. And that was extremely important.
We recognize that time is of the essence, and if we say that we're going to do something in an amount of time, we got to follow through. And so it kind of goes back to Randy's comment about we all need to work together and we all got to pitch in. If it's not an individual sport, it's a team sport, and we got to get buy-in from everybody. If we start out with a unrealistic time slot for the job, then the chances of that being successful or the appearance of that being successful is probably slim.
And Brad, really, as far as TxDOT, time and cost can kind of go together anyway. I mean, we have, as district engineers, we have performance measures. We have two, on time and on budget for construction projects. And the Transportation Commission, they monitor that too. So time and budget is everything to us as TxDOT. And now we have others monitoring that. You know, we have the public and the taxpayers monitoring time and budget. So I think it's really important. And then I know it adds into profit for the contractor too. I mean, if we can't get a job done on time and on budget, you're probably not making a profit. And we as TxDOT employees recognize that contractors do have to make profit. And that needs to go all the way down to the inspectors. They need to understand that it's okay for the contractors to make money. We got to make profit. They have to make profit so they can go invest in their companies and bid on projects. We got to have that successful low bid program. I don't know if you have anything else to add about profit.
No, we appreciate that. We're employers. We have people that work for us just like everybody in here. We have families to take care of. And so we're all working for the same opportunity. And we just want to make sure that we get that message out that that's not a bad thing in order to keep ourselves in the industry. And we know that there's a need, especially with the program, potentially doubling. We're going to need everybody that we can possibly get to be on part of these teams to move us forward.
So the next bullet there's relationships, and after TxAPA decided we need to maybe change the word here. It's professional relationship. And really what we're getting, and we'll talk a little bit more about this here in a minute, but when we dive into our field guide here, but it's professional relationship. We have a contract between TxDOT and Contractor, and we have specifications and an agreement that we both signed and said that we're going to process this agreement and complete this project. And so that's what we're really talking about here. And it's a lot more than just partnering. It's a successful communication and successful professional relationship in dealing with this contract. And I think that's another key to these successful projects.
Yeah, and so we do have common goals. We know that we can pull in the same direction to get these projects done, and we've all probably been part of jobs that we're excited to get up out of bed every morning and go to, and then on the flip side, we've all probably been where it's not all that pleasant to get out of bed because you know what you're going to have to deal with. But it's a people business, and we have to recognize and respect all of us and get us lined up and pulling in the same direction.
So perception, this is probably what kills us and kills a job. And I'm speaking from experience. I've had a project where perception really hurt the project. When we're promising to the taxpayers and public out there that we're going to finish a project in 12 months or 24 months, and we're 6 months in LDs, 1 year in LDs, 2 years in LDs, the perception is from the public is that we failed. And it doesn't really matter if it's Brad's fault or my fault, we failed, and that's all they see and that's all they care about. And when that happens, then usually you have the media and they start putting stuff in the newspaper, and then before you know it, you have elected officials that are calling administration, and it's spiraling out of control. So perception to the public is extremely important. When they see a clean project, when they see workers out there every day, then they generally think that we're moving along in a positive direction to complete these projects successfully. And I think this is the key to making these projects successful, keeping up a good perception to the public and our elected officials.
Yeah, so it goes to progress, noticeable progress, and then communication. If there is some reason that the job is not moving forward for whatever, then I think that has to be communicated, so that everybody doesn't get the wrong idea. And there are reasons for that, but we have an opportunity to move our industry forward. And if we don't take it, if our group doesn't take it, somebody else is going to. And I'm afraid that's going to be the elected officials. And we have some examples. Is there anybody in here whose health insurance program now is better than it was 8 years ago? So if you want elected officials to help you with your stuff, there's a good example.
So quality is the last bullet on here. We believe we're all proud of our projects when we're done with them, both Contractor and TxDOT. We walk away. One of the neat things about being in Texas and driving, I've worked in 3 districts now, and it's neat. You can drive around and, well, I was part of that project. You're proud of it. It's standing the test of time, and quality is everything, and even our overlays and seal coats. When we have a good, successful project, Randy talked about that one that the contractor talked about at Texas, and I was there, and it was a good-looking job. It was an award-winning job and really good quality, and everybody in that community, everybody's walked away knowing that we built a successful quality project,
And that's good. And so those lessons learned need to be communicated, open for everybody, and accessible. Not everyone is going to take advice that they're given, but they should have the opportunity to have it.
That's correct. So, Brad, you want to talk about how we came up with these focus areas?
Yeah, we as Mark said, we went around to every one of the districts' area meetings and asked for feedback, saying, what is it in your past that you can remember or you can share that helped you make projects successful? And through that communications, we were getting so much feedback, which was great, enthusiasm. We decided that we needed to break it down into specific areas, so that as projects were developed and as projects worked their way through the system, that the people that would be impacted or could participate or were part of the team could go and recognize.
So we're going to talk a little bit about each of these focus areas. And here we go with that relationship thing again here, professional contract relationship. And I want to read something out of our field guide here. So this is I don't know if everybody's seen this. We've been out to all the 25 districts. We've passed these out at the AGC quarterly meetings. And this is kind of, we're wrapping up positive ideas in each of these focus areas and putting them in this field guide. And I want to read something here that kind of pertains to contract relationships. You know, partnering over the years, I think about when I was in area office, partnering, it's almost got to the point where we sat around a table at a PreCon and talk a little bit about partnering and sign a pledge, and that's really the extent of it today. And then when we have issues out on the job, you know, hey, Brad, can't you partner with me? Or Brad's saying, hey, you know, TxDOT, can't you partner with me? And is that truly the definition of partnering? And I would say no. So let me read this out of our field guide. Partnering is a business process intended to assist project teams with setting goals, resolving disputes, and improving project outcome. Partnering is working together, not against each other. Partnering is developing an attitude of trust and goodwill. It's relationship building, teamwork and collaboration. There's that word collaboration. Skillful and effective communication, hard work and commitment, solving problems efficiently. That's what partnering is. And partnering is not a 5-minute discussion at the pre-construction meeting. And it's not simply signing some project pledge. And it's not like it was back in the early and mid-90s of a weekend of relaxing fun and games and team building exercises. It's not free food, and it's not extra work for free, and it's not easy to achieve. So I just wanted to stress that's what true partnering is, and it's about communication. When you got good communication, you got trust, and when you have good trust and communication, the collaboration is going to come. And so when we're out there on a project and we have issues and we need to try to figure out how to get through them, if we've done everything we've talked about here and we've truly partnered, Brad and I are going to be able to figure out how to move forward on that project, how to get that change order issued, and move that project. It's all about the project. So
You left one off your list, bless his heart. I had an old TxDOT, a friend of mine come up to me and say at the end of a partnering session, you know, that's just another way for the contractor to screw the state.
Yeah.
So you left that one off
Yep.
the list, but that clearly is not it. These contract relationships don't happen overnight. It takes time and it takes effort, and so we're going to ask and continue to recognize that there's only 24 hours in the day, but we are in the people business, and we got to make the effort, and we got to allow all of our team members to have that opportunity to strengthen those contract relationships.
So, and we have that as the number one bullet because we do believe that's the foundation of everything else we're going to talk about. If we got a good relationship, Brad and I can work out differences and maintain that contract between the state and the contractor, then we can almost accomplish anything, like I said. So the next focus area is prior to letting, and I think Brad's going to touch on plans and schedules, which is important. I want to touch on one thing, and it came up as a question not too long ago in a district, but showing projects. And we've really gotten away from that over the years. And I don't know why. It's probably because everybody's fast and furious and technology. You know, everybody can just go Google a map and look at the road, and contractors are probably bidding on multiple projects and moving fast and trying to get out there to an area office and get their engineer or assistant their engineer and go drive the project. That doesn't happen as much as you think anymore. And I'm talking from experience. And I think it's maybe we all try to do that again. And I know Brad's his company's really reaching out to area offices and trying to bring that home again and trying to get out there. It's in our construction and contract administration manual. I mean, it talks about showing projects in there. But when we have new project managers in area offices, new assistant AEs and AEs, they may not know about that showing projects. And I think it's important from a prior to letting standpoint, because you're also building that relationship, driving around and looking at the project. You might be finding some issues you had in the plans prior to bidding, and maybe there'd be time to do an addendum and correct them. So
Yeah, I'd certainly, you know, as we started putting these things together, what we used to do, that was one on the list, and quite frankly, we don't know why we got away from that. I suspect that everybody's busy and tied up and electronic, and it's easy to send an email and it's easy to look on Google, but you know, we decided that if we're gonna walk the walk and talk the talk and work on relationships and that kind of thing, that was important for us to make sure that we reach out to the area office and see if we can go look at the jobs. Everything from sharing information as early as possible, and I know Randy and TxDOT have really stepped up the effort on plans, preliminary plans, getting contractors' input, because again, what does it hurt? I can tell you what the positives are, and I can tell you that there was some perceptions way back when, and we talked with, you know, Bill Hale, and, you know, one of the money-grubbing contractors way back when used a preliminary set of plans and filed a claim or something, and that perception just you know, carried forward, but we're better than that. And if we're going to be team members and pulling together and having people look over our shoulder, we got to take advantage of everything that we have. Schedule's the same way. You know, we've had conversations about what has TxDOT done or what have consultants done for TxDOT, and I'm not sure how high of a priority on the design criteria the schedule is, but it's been very not open, I should say, and we're trying to figure out why that is. And again, we go back to a money-grubbing contractor probably filed a claim at some time back when, but we're better than that. So if we can work on all those items early, I think that we will see the improvement.
And so I'll just add to that. I think, you know, Doug Eichhorst is here in the audience, and Doug's with the AGC now, and he's been working quite extensively on this program with us. And Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Beaumont has put out some electronic plans. We have plans online, but now I think we're working with the division. We're trying to get a preliminary plans online, right, set up. And I think Beaumont, has there been any other districts utilize that?
That's all they've done so far.
Yeah. So we're working with divisions on that, trying to figure out a way to get, you know, maybe it's at 60% or 90%, those plans out there online, and also communicating with the AGC. But, you know, there's a lot of contractors that are members of the AGC. So they still got to be able to access those plans too. So I think plans online may be the best route, preliminary plans online, getting 60% on there or 90%, and getting that contract schedule on there, that preliminary schedule on there might be key too.
Yeah, and so there's lots of, I mean, we can make plugs for, I see Bob over here, the El Paso district is working with the AGC and putting out notices of these plans are available and come look at it, and we want to encourage everybody to do that because we don't know of a bad side effect. If anybody knows something bad about that, you know, raise your hand and let us hear. But I think the earlier we get the information to all, the better results that we're going to have.
So post-letting to construction start, okay, so we had a lot of discussions on this. I think we all agreed that the PreCon meeting has kind of gone downhill over the years, and maybe not everywhere, but at least some of the ones I've seen, and really it's, I guess the discussion in the committee, it's almost became like a checklist meeting. You know, do you have all this information, sourcing, and it's almost like a checklist meeting. And instead of truly talking about some, you know, the meat of the plans and some of the traffic control issues that we have. Maybe having some locals there, EMS, fire, involved in that, And so we had a lot of discussions on that pre-con meeting and maybe how we could make some suggestions to change it up. And I think we came up with 2 or 3 meetings maybe, and maybe not all projects, but some of those large projects, it makes sense to maybe bust it up in 2 or 3 meetings. Is that?
Yeah, and just the idea of utilizing that time from submission and you know who the low bidder is going to be, and you know what area office is going to be. So to start that line of communication, and ideas and everything leading up to not just waiting for the pre-construction, but start the communications early. Share all the information that you have. Pre-construction meetings, I know Terry's in here, Terry McCoy from Austin, and I got challenged a little bit about that. We had not had a job in the Austin district in a while, but you're exactly right. They're checklists, and we recognize that there's federal responsibilities that you have to do some of those things. And so we set aside time to do that, but then we didn't go further. And we used to, talk about challenges or rocks in the road or whatever term. And, we used to go through the entire schedule and say, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And so you'll see in our suggestions that we say, set aside enough time to have meaningful discussions on the challenges of the job, have meaningful discussions on the people that are going to run the job, looking at the schedule prior to starting. There's rules and regulations now that we have a complex computer program that we all work real hard on. We turn it in, and unfortunately, some of the people that are on the job don't recognize or have the abilities to do that. So we send it off to some consultant who's no offense to anybody here, but takes it away, and those people aren't on the job. And we got to get it back to where the people on the job understand what the critical items are and the sequence of construction. So all those ideas are in the pamphlet that Mark talked about, and please, if you need one, AGC and TechStat have worked real hard to create this, and we'll darn sure get you a copy.
Yeah, so the last area that, we got construction start to contract completion. Just touch on a few items there. We're talking about like, decision-making process, the escalation ladder. That's all extremely important. And I'll go back and say, if you've kind of been following everything else we've been discussing here today, I think the issue resolution escalation is going to happen a little easier out there on the job. And so that's important. And I think, like we've always preached, if you can get those decisions made on the project quickly, on the ground, that's the best way. When we start escalating it up to, area engineer, director of construction, district engineer, and on up the lines to superintendent, area manager, and owner, that's when we start slowing down our process. And it doesn't need to be a finger pointing, type process. We need to be all open and communicating at each of those levels, and always focus on what's best for the project. And I think that's key there. If we can do that, then when we start working on change orders for added work, I think we can process those change orders much faster too. So I don't know if you have anything else to add on.
Yeah, again, you'll see some suggestions in there, and not all of those are for every job, but pick the ones that will work for you. Regular scheduled meetings with the proper people attending, the decision makers. If you get together and have meetings and you talk about issues, but the people that can't decide the path forward, you're kind of wasting your time. So you got to have the key players at those regularly scheduled meetings. We think that there's means and methods for schedule updates. I know it's currently in the contract documents now. I would be open and honest and tell you that the chances of those happening on all 1,600 contracts that the state has is slim to none. But there are a few successful projects that do that, and that's certainly part of what we think a successful project is a regular scheduled meeting and looking at the project schedule on the job.
Thank you, Brad. So another thing we're doing is we held a pilot workshop out in the San Angelo district, and we brought in contractors, CEI, inspectors, air engineers, and we had kind of a half a day of drilling into this field guide that you see here on the screen and talking, and I thought it was a pretty good meeting. We had we had contractors and TxDOT or CEI, which is extension of our staff, if you will. But we had them stand up and talk about successful projects and how they, working together, were able to complete those projects successfully. And of course, we did have, one that neither side could say was a successful project, and then I said, well, that's fine, but think about an aspect of that project that was successful. So we tried to keep it positive, uplifting, and I think it was pretty good. I know here in the Austin district, they had, I think, a workshop, and so we're kind of starting to spread that around the state and work on that. You were at the Austin district?
Yes.
How did that go?
A different meeting, but again, what we're wanting, and all of you that are here from the districts, please take advantage of us, because what we're trying to do is plant a seed so that we have successful projects, our industry does well, and we don't have to have other people dictating how we decide whether projects are successful. So our company did not have a job in Mark's district, but I volunteered to come over there. Sometimes it takes some outside eyes and ears to stimulate some conversation. They're tough calls. I mean, this is a people business. And if you have some people that are like me, old school, and maybe closed-minded on some of the things, maybe it takes a little push from somebody that's not so personal, and please take advantage of us, because I can tell you that our heart's good. Lonnie's sitting over there, and he's an advocate for the state, and he will ask the tough questions. And man, we appreciate his efforts, because we have a chance now to take care of what we need to take care of internally. And I'm afraid if we don't, somebody else is going to try to take care of it for us.
Yeah, so like Randy was saying, we're trying to get out to all the 25 districts. I think Doug with the AGC sent out an email out to all the district engineers, and the committee's here to help out any district, and we'd like to really see these workshops happening, and everybody rolling up their sleeves and talking about the We Build Texas program. And with that, so that's what we have to look forward to in the next year, trying to get some of these workshops going. And this is a living, breathing document. I don't think we've said that, because every time we go out to a district, every time we talk to a contractor or area office, we're learning new ideas, and we're putting that information in there. And also resources, we're probably going to add something on here on where available resources are. I was in a meeting not too long ago, and most of the folks in the meeting never even heard of construction contract tips that we used to do. And there's a lot of good information in those tips. And if we got new folks in area offices that never heard of it, how are they going to know to go look for it and where to look for it? So maybe putting resources in here is another good idea. And with that, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions and see if anybody has any questions.
John?
Brad,
John?
when you talk about LDs on contracts and the number, if you had a perfect project going to letting that you got the 60% review, no right of way, no utility issues, what's your personal thoughts on A plus B to make that LD issue subside somewhat, give you the opportunity to fit the time into the project?
So you said a mouthful right there.
I know,
How many perfect projects do we have?
but under that scenario,
Yeah. No, I think that is perfectly appropriate.
Hey, Brad? Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, there-
repeat the question. John was asking about if we had a perfect set of plans, all the right-of-way, all the utilities are taken care of. So it's just a matter of getting out there and using your innovation to construct the job successfully. And I think Kelly Selman, I sat through his talk yesterday, and I think he's spot on. That's a great way if you do what you say. Now, the problem is that and especially if you have a high dollar, damage per day, that, the risk kind of shifts over if it's not a perfect job. So caution there, but I think, I'd be supportive of if it was a perfect job.
one of the things I think we got to talk about in these workshops openly is, as Brad was saying, not every project's going to go smoothly, and there's a chance not every project's going to be successful. So then we got to talk openly about, what do you do if you have a project that's struggling? How do you save it? How do you turn it around? What's the recipe for that? I think we need to have those types of discussions too. Any other comments or questions? Lonnie?
I guess just a clarification, Randy, we've got two initiatives going right now, accelerated construction. If they are similar but different, could you touch on that?
Sure. The question or comment was that we have two initiatives going on with AGC right now. We have the We Build Texas program, which is a larger program that touches every project that we do in the state of Texas. But we also have the accelerated construction program, and there's going to be a presentation on that later this morning. And that is for a smaller subset of projects, and how do we advance those projects and deliver those transportation improvements more quickly to our customers. Two independent programs, but this one certainly touches all projects. Yes, sir.
Hey, Randy, from the design side, the concept of the contractor looking at our plans, 60% level is awesome. Is there a convenient way that those comments will be able to come back in those tricky situations? And I can see them looking at them, but then is there a tool for us to get back their thoughts on, you got to complete it here once you get this?
Right, you want to take that? You want to repeat the question, Mark? And then
So you're asking comments from contractors,
Well,
or?
if they're looking at a 60% set of plans and they have some thoughts on it, how would I get those back?
Well, I mean, if we're getting information from the area office on comments from the contractor on preliminary set of plans, I think the area office needs to be communicating with the designer, whether that be in the area office or district design or consultant. And I mean, there needs to be that communication so we make sure we get that information back.
I mean, it's a good question. We're all in this together. We have consultants that are doing more work for us. And as was said earlier, we have outsourced CE&I providers out there. That can change the dynamics on a project. And so I think we've got to get all these different groups of people together and talk about it. Quickly, Mario.
Yes, sir. Randy, can you talk to the importance of this program? Because we spent a lot of time talking about the branding of this program and how we sort of equated it to our safety program. We branded our Mission Zero safety program, and our entire agency, feeds off of that. Is that what we're looking for on the construction side of the house?
Yeah, thank you, Mario. Mario is on our committee, and you'll hear from his line of questioning. This was his point during the whole committee meeting, and it was about branding. how do we brand this? You know, everybody's gotten behind in TxDOT, and Brad touched on this in the contracting community as well. You've gotten behind safety. And we understand safety now. We understand the expectations of safety. Brad talked about this. And Mario's point in this committee is we need to create that type of brand for this initiative, We Build Texas. Because as I said earlier, it's that important. And to emphasize that, it's not just Randy standing up here talking about this. We got Bill Hale involved in this. He's pushing this hard. We have James Bass, our executive director, pushing this initiative. We have Chairman Bugg that is clearly behind this in his new role as chairman of the commission. And by extension, we have Governor Abbott that's behind the We Build Texas program. So this is a complete rebranding. We're serious about this. It's a message that we want every TxDOT employee to hear, and I'm sure from the contracting side of things, Brad wants all of the contractor personnel out there around the state of Texas to understand the expectations behind We Build Texas. I'm going to wrap things up real quick. I want to quote two people because this has always resonated with me. I think Bob Lanham and David Castile relate to us, and Mark touched on it. We got to be more timely in our decision making. If we're going to have more successful projects, we have to make better decisions more timely. Can't take time to stew on things. And I think what they shared with us is a quote from Doug Pitcock. Doug's been in business for many, many years, and he says that making a bad decision sometimes is better than making the right decision. Because you make a bad decision, you can go back and fix that. But certainly making no decision doesn't advance anything. There's no success behind not making any decision.